We are pleased to be joined by Chuck Todd with NBC and moderator of Meet the Press. Chuck, as you know, President Trump was in Milwaukee on Tuesday. You also had a team from Meet the Press in Milwaukee talking with Democratic voters in Milwaukee County. Is there a narrative developing about 2020 with these Democrats?
Well, there is. And what's interesting here and what our folks found out, number one, on the issue of impeachment. And look, as you know, Democrats in Milwaukee County might be, their ability to be enthusiastic or unenthusiastic might be the difference between Democrats winning the presidency and not. That's why we're there. I want folks to understand that. So getting this point of view to me mattered a lot to understand where this Democratic primary is going. What I found interesting on impeachment is that these folks, generally the conversation was, he deserved to be impeached. They're not, but at the same time, they're not sitting here saying the party needs to fight to the death to remove him from office. They think, you know, he needed to be held accountable. We're in the middle of that. Now let's move to the election. There is a pragmatic streak among the voters that we talk to. And look, this is subjective here. It's not a poll. I can't sit here and say it statistically applicable to every single Democratic primary voter in Milwaukee. But the general sense we got is much more pragmatism, and this is less about who you support and more about who you don't support, in this case being Donald Trump. So it is, we did not sense any enthusiasm for any one Democratic candidate. What you sensed was a determination to simply defeat Donald Trump with these voters. And I guess the question Democrats are wondering nationally and strategists are, is that enough? 4 years ago it wasn't. Is this time different because he's in office? The indication from these voters is yes. They believe it's different because they've seen him in office.
Yeah, so that's what's an interesting point to me, because I believe you're primarily talking with African-American Democratic voters, correct?
Yes, we are.
All right, and then so my point is the motivation just to vote against Trump, or are they going to need that motivation to vote for someone? And right now, we don't know who that person is. And in the recent Marquette poll, it sounded like 60% of Democrats are pretty fluid on this. They could change their mind.
They're fluid, and that's what that came through in the conversation, is that they've yet to be convinced any one of them is the answer.
Oh.
But they decided, but that doesn't mean they're not going to be comfortable voting for whatever the answer is. And I think that's what you got through this, is that, for instance, look, there is a little bit of a generational split. I mean, look, Biden in general is seen as acceptable enough, good enough. But younger African Americans and political activists in general, we've seen this in polling, and it's actually reflected in this group. There is some interest in Bernie as well. So the question is, can Bernie grow that vote within the African American community big enough in time to prevent Biden from just sort of sweeping those southern primaries when this thing gets going after February?
The busiest guy in politics right now, Chuck Todd. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Charles.